This is CBS Eye on the World. I'm John Batchelor with Malcolm Hoenlein, and we're very pleased and privileged to be joined by Mrs. Goldie Jacoby, a survivor of the Holocaust. Malcolm, what is Holocaust Memorial Day today? What does it represent?
It represents an increasingly important commemoration and remembrance of what happened almost 80 years ago with the death of 6 million Jews and millions of others. But in this, we see the price of hatred and evil left to go unchecked. And the importance is not just remembering the past, but learning the lessons for today. And I think Ms. Jacoby is a perfect example. The date was chosen in conjunction with the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, and which was ultimately liquidated, the ghetto, and the people removed and most killed there or in the aftermath in concentration camps. So we have an eyewitness who saw things that are almost unspeakable.
We welcome Mrs. Goldie Jacoby, thanks to the offices of Blue Card. She's in California. You were 5 or 6 years old when you first were thrust into the tragedy. You're from Katowice, Poland, and you speak to young people today. What do you tell them, Mrs. Jacoby, about your experiences? Good evening to you.
Good evening. I tell them my life story. I tell them what can happen again, and it will happen again if they don't stop this hatred. I tell them that anti-Semitism is the cancer of humanity, and it better stop because it is a cancer. So the children are, I cannot tell you how receptive and wonderful they are, because I get it to the letters and to the emails. They're telling me they got it, and they have so much empathy. And I think I'm changing the world. I hope I am, because I've been speaking without stop for almost 40 years now.
Malcolm, you have a question for Mrs. Jacoby.
Yeah, could you tell a little bit to the audience about your personal story? What happened to you? You were one of the youngest and therefore one of the remaining Holocaust survivors.
So I'll just
tell us what happened? Yeah.
Yes, I'll tell you highlights. We went to visit our grandparents, and there the Germans marched in and took us to this place, to this big knoll, and took babies out of the mother's hands, and a few little babies that were born, maybe 3, 4, and threw them against the brick wall. And I was listening to the screams of the mothers as the babies were shattering and crying, and the mothers screaming. I can hear it forever and ever. And after that, they took my grandmother and grandfather and hit them with a rifle butt and killed them. And I don't know what happened, if there was a funeral or not. But that was my beginning of everything that was going to happen after. We don't have that much time to tell you my story. It is really unbelievable that this could happen to.
But you were placed underneath a pig barn, right? And you dug a hole.
After all that happened, and it happened so much that we don't have the time to talk about. We finally found we escaped the town. And we found this righteous Gentile that pleaded, and finally he let us stay, put us in a barn under the pigs. And this space was for 2 pigs, not 10 people. We didn't sleep. Now, we didn't sleep ever for the 3 years as lying down, always on each other's shoulders, because there was no room to lie down. I can tell you the lice and the dirt was eating us up. We haven't had a shower or a bath or enough water to get clean for almost 3 years. Hunger all the time. There was nothing to eat. They were so poor. They brought in a bread and divided it among, can you imagine, 10 people. Everybody had a sniff, a little bite, and holding it so dear and smelling it, because it was such a wonderful experience just to have a piece of bread. It was it was unbelievable to sit for almost 3 years vegetating, nothing to do. There's no pencil, no pen, no nothing, just sitting and doing nothing. And every time we whispered, you could hear the parents saying, shh, shh, because we couldn't, worried that the neighbor may hear us there. It was hunger, thirst, filth, just absolutely the lice were eating us up.
Could you tell us what the pink apron in the Tolerance Education Center in California is? What does it represent?
Yes, it was one joyous day of my life. My mother's slip tore, and she, without a scissor, made an apron for me, either my 6th or 7th birthday. I don't really remember. I did not know what that means, only that it was beautiful and it was for me. And the only thing she said before she died, she told me she has it in the closet and that she has that apron still. It's hanging alone at the Tolerance Center here in Palm Springs.
Mrs. Jacoby, what are the questions that you receive from, you said the young people write you emails or talk to you when you give your address. What do they want to know about your experiences?
Well, I always tell them, because some of them are shy to ask questions. So I always give them my email address to ask me anything that they forgot to ask me while I was speaking. And their questions are, actually, there are very few questions. Mainly, they give me promises that whatever I said to them to do and to make this world a better place, that's what they will do. They will, when they go to college, they will speak up and they will not allow anti-Semitism or hatred to keep up, because I tell them they are our future. They are the ones that we're counting that will fix this world. So, and they take it very seriously. I just spoke to 250 kids the other day, and it was great because, when I see a tear in their eye, I know they understand what I'm saying.
Do they know the language you're speaking of, the Holocaust? Do they recognize that terminology? Oh. Yes.
Let me tell you, I will not speak in any school that hasn't had a program about it. They learn about the Holocaust everywhere that I have spoken, because you can't speak about the Holocaust without them knowing some history about it. You can't just come up and tell them this kind of story, because it's really unbelievable unless they get into the history of it all. And we have some good teachers that really teach it and teach it well.
Malcolm?
I just said quickly, the part about what the reaction of students is very important, fascinating, especially with the rise of anti-Semitism.
Yes.
When you see the numbers and you see the events, does it remind you of those older days? And what can we do today to help the remaining survivors? Many of them I know are living in impoverished conditions. What do you recommend to people that can be done for them as well?
Well, survivors are very few, you're right? And we should know that some of us survivors fell through the cracks and did not do well in America. We struggle financially and emotionally. Some of us survive. Some of us survive and speak. Thanks to Blue Card, there is a little help, and they are really saviors for me anyway. A little bit, and well, not a little bit, a lot actually. Without them, I don't know what I would have done. So, but people don't understand. You can't pick yourself up by your boots when you haven't had a toddlerhood or a babyhood or a childhood. Not everybody has that energy and that knowledge and to do especially when you come to America and your parents, all they do is struggle to get a job and to work, which they never did. They had businesses, and it was really a hell even when we came here. But the good part was we were free. And we did have, we could wash, and we had all the food that we needed. So it was good. But some of us did real well in America, but some of us didn't. And the world doesn't know that, And what really bothers me most is that I am happy that the second generation is involved. But we are still alive. Not many, of course. But we need to speak constantly now because it's getting late. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years. I'm hoping to live another 10 years. So we need to constantly speak about it and really tell the story, because what comes out of your mouth is real. Sometimes students, it's secondhand, you know, it's not the same. It's good that they will speak after we are all gone.
Mrs.
Right now, and this is, I have that thing that I have constantly hear with some people that keep hiring second generation speakers. And I think we should really give every speaker who's still willing to speak, to speak their truth.
Mrs. Goldie Jacoby from Katowice, Poland, Malcolm Hoenlein, Conference of Presidents. I'm John Batchelor.
Stay tuned for more of CBS.